My father looked me dead in the eye, sipped my vintage wine, and laughed. "You're homeless now!" He thought he'd just evicted his daughter, Avon Vance. He had no idea he'd just committed treason by selling a federally protected black site. 5 minutes later, I watched an FBI SWAT team drag him face first into the snow. But before the sirens shattered the night, my mind was still drifting somewhere far worse. The heat of Iraq doesn't leave you. It stays in your lungs, a phantom taste of sand and burning oil that lingers even when you're 7,000 miles away. I can still feel the weight of my Kevlar vest, the constant hum of threat assessment in the back of my mind, even as I drive through a landscape that is the complete opposite of where I've been. Here in the mountains of Aspen, the world is painted in shades of white and gray. Snow falls in heavy, silent sheets, burying the pines and the road ahead. The heater in my rental Jeep hums a steady, comforting rhythm, but my hands, gripping the steering wheel, are white-knuckled. They are scarred, tired hands. Hands that have held weapons and bandages more often than they've held anything soft. I'm 30 years old, but looking in the rearview mirror, the eyes staring back at me belong to someone who has lived lifetimes in a single decade. I'm not coming back for a vacation. I'm coming back for sanctuary. For a combat intelligence officer, home isn't just a place to sleep. It's the only coordinate on the map where your brain is allowed to stop calculating survival probabilities. I bought the villa 3 years ago with hazard pay and blood money, renovating it room by room to be my fortress of solitude. I think about something my first commanding officer told me after a particularly brutal operation. Peace isn't the absence of noise, Avon. It's the ability to remain calm within it. I've earned my calm. I've paid for it in sweat and nightmares. The Jeep tires crunch over the fresh powder as I turn onto the private drive. The incline is steep, designed to deter casual visitors. As the villa comes into view, perched on the cliffside like a modern fortress of glass and stone, I feel the first real breath of relief I've had in months. It's exactly as I remember it, stoic, strong, unyielding against the elements. But as I crest the final hill, the relief shatters. There is a vehicle in my driveway, a massive, brand-new luxury SUV, black and gleaming, parked aggressively right in front of the entrance. It's blocking the path where the snowplow needs to go. A rookie mistake, or the arrogance of someone who thinks nature will bend to their will. For a split second, a foolish, childlike hope flickers in my chest. Maybe it's Dad, I think. Maybe Thaddeus drove up to surprise me for Christmas. I remember a winter when I was 10, him teaching me how to build a fire, his hands warm and steady. That version of him has been gone for a long time, replaced by a man obsessed with status and appearances. But the heart is a stubborn organ. It wants to believe in the anchor of hope, that despite everything, family is still family. That hope dies the moment I see the lights. The house is blazing. Every window is illuminated, casting long golden rectangles onto the snow. I left this house dark. I left it secured. My instinct shifts instantly. I am no longer Avon Vance, the daughter returning home. I am Staff Sergeant Vance, approaching a compromised perimeter. I kill the engine and step out into the storm. The wind cuts through my jacket like a knife, instantly freezing the sweat on my back. My boots crunch on the snow, a sound that usually brings me peace, but tonight it sounds like a warning shot. I walk to the massive oak front door. My hand reaches out automatically for the hidden panel near the frame. It's a biometric scanner I had installed, top of the line, keyed only to my prints. I press my thumb against the glass. Instead of the soft green pulse of recognition, the panel flashes a harsh, angry red. Access denied, user unknown. The digital voice is cold, final. I stare at it, the snow melting on my eyelashes. I try again, same result. My breath hitches, clouding in the freezing air. I look at the manual lock below the handle. It hasn't just been rekeyed. The entire brass mechanism has been drilled out and replaced with a shiny, consumer-grade smart lock. The kind you buy at a hardware store when you want to keep the neighbors out. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a malfunction. This was a hostile takeover. I step back into the shadows of the porch, my mind racing. I don't bang on the door. I don't scream, "Open up." Screaming gives away your position. Silence gives you leverage. I stand there realizing the house I paid for, the deed I hold in a safe deposit box, has been seized. We spend our lives building walls to keep enemies out. We deploy to foreign lands to fight threats before they reach our shores. But what do you do when the enemy is already inside, sitting by your fire, drinking your wine? I move quietly to the large floor-to-ceiling window to the left of the door. The curtains are open. I wipe a circle of frost from the glass and look inside. My breath catches in my throat. It isn't a family reunion. It isn't a surprise party for me. Through the glass, I see my mother, Corinne, laughing, her head thrown back in delight. I see my brother, Elian, wearing a coat that costs more than my car. And I see my father, Thaddeus, raising a glass of my vintage wine in a toast to a stranger I have never seen before. They aren't celebrating my return. They are celebrating their victory. The cold outside is nothing compared to the freeze spreading through my chest. I stand there in the dark, shivering not from the wind, but from the sight of it. The warmth. The perfect golden glow of a family that is complete without me. It looks like a painting, a masterpiece of domestic bliss, but I am the smudge they've carefully wiped away. My eyes lock onto the bottle in Thaddeus's hand. A 1992 Chateau Margaux. I bought that bottle with my re-enlistment bonus, saving it for the day I finally hung up my uniform for good. It was supposed to be a symbol of survival. Now, watching him pour it casually into a stranger's glass, I realize it's just a beverage to them. They aren't drinking wine. They are consuming my life, sip by expensive sip. And the stranger? He's sitting where I should be sitting. He's laughing at a joke Elian just told. Elian, my brother, is wearing a beige cashmere coat that looks soft enough to melt in your hands. I recognize the brand. It costs more than I made in my first 3 months of service. He's never held a job for longer than 6 months. Yet here he is, draped in luxury, financed by the sale of the roof over my head. It is a terrible thing to realize you are not the guest of honor in your own life story, but merely the silent sponsor of the banquet. They aren't waiting for me to come home. They are celebrating the fact that I'm gone. I don't smash the window. I don't scream. That's what a child would do. I am a soldier. I walk to the glass, my reflection ghost-like against the warm interior, and I rap my knuckles against it. 3 sharp rhythmic knocks. Rap, rap, rap. The sound of a gavel bringing order to a chaotic court. Inside, the laughter dies instantly. It's almost comical how quickly the joy evaporates. Corinne looks towards the window, her expression shifting from delight to annoyance. Not fear. Annoyance. Like a fly has buzzed into her soup. Thaddeus sets the glass down, my glass, and marches toward the front door. He doesn't move like a father rushing to greet a long-lost daughter. He moves like a bouncer preparing to handle a drunk. The front door swings open, but Thaddeus blocks the threshold with his body. He doesn't step back to let me in. The heat from the foyer rushes past him, hitting my frozen face, smelling of cedarwood and his expensive cologne. It's a scent I used to associate with safety. Now it just smells like arrogance. "Avon," he says, his voice flat. "You're early." "Early?" I repeat, my voice raspy from the cold. "I live here." "Avon, don't make a scene," Corinne calls out from the living room, not even bothering to stand up. "We have a guest. Don't ruin this for your brother." She frames my existence as a disruption. My freezing to death on the porch is an inconvenience to their cocktail hour. "What is happening?" I ask, staring Thaddeus in the eye. "Why is my key gone? Who is that man?" Thaddeus sighs, the kind of sigh a parent gives a toddler who won't eat their peas. "We sold the house, Avon. The papers are signed. The new owner takes possession immediately. You don't need a place this big for one person. You're always deployed anyway." The words hit me like physical blows, but I don't flinch. "You sold my house?" "We transferred the asset," he corrects, as if the terminology changes the theft. "So, effectively, you're homeless for now. Grab a hotel in town. We'll talk when you cool down." "Cool down?" I look at the snow piling up on my boots. "You just evicted me from my own property in the middle of a blizzard." "Why?" I ask, the single word heavy with everything I'm not saying. Thaddeus points a thumb over his shoulder at Elian, who is now sipping the wine, looking bored. "Your brother is in trouble. Real trouble this time. This house was just sitting here gathering dust. We did what families do. We reallocated resources to the one who needed saving. There it is. The twisted logic of the Vance family. Because I am strong, because I survive, I am expected to bleed. Because Elian is weak, because he fails, he is entitled to feed. My competence is my punishment. His incompetence is his currency. I look past him at the warm fire. I could push past him. I could cause a scene. But I need them to say it. I need the betrayal to be absolute. Dad, I say softly, offering him one last lifeline, one final test of his humanity. This isn't just a house. It's my sanctuary. It's the only place I feel safe. If you let me in now, right now, and stop this, we can fix it. Legally. We can figure it out. Thaddeus laughs. It's a short, barking sound. It's done, Avon. Stop being so selfish. You have a government paycheck. Elian has nothing. He needs this start. He isn't saving Elian. He's enabling him. And he's cannibalizing me to do it. They say blood is thicker than water. But standing there in the biting wind, I realize that sometimes blood is just the thing that stains the carpet the hardest when you finally have to cut ties. You're sure about this? I ask. Go to a hotel, he says, starting to close the door. But the door doesn't close. A smooth, accented voice cuts through the tension from behind Thaddeus. Is there a problem, Mr. Vance? The stranger in the suit steps into the doorway, holding my wine glass. He looks at me, then at Thaddeus, and smiles like a man who owns the world and everything in it. The stranger steps past my father, moving with the fluid, practiced ease of a man who has never been told no in his entire life. He is wearing a suit cut from Italian wool that costs more than the Jeep I drove up here. But his eyes are dead. They are flat, shark-like, assessing me not as a human being, but as an obstruction in a spreadsheet. He raises my glass to his lips, taking a slow, deliberate sip of the 1992 vintage I saved for a celebration that will never happen. So, this is the soldier? He asks, his accent clipped, smelling of offshore accounts and shell companies. Your father said you were reasonable. My training kicks in instantly. I don't see a house guest. I see a cleaner. He isn't here to buy a family home. He's acquiring a distressed asset to wash money or strip value. He is dangerous, not physically, but in the white-collar way that destroys lives with a fountain pen. Elian steps up beside him, practically vibrating with the need to please. Don't mind her, Mr. Sterling. She's just a grunt. She doesn't understand how high-level finance works. My brother sells out my dignity for a pat on the head from a predator. Mr. Sterling smirks, dismissing me with a wave of his hand. The deed is transferred. The funds are wired to your brother's LLC. You are trespassing, Miss Vance. I suggest you leave before I call private security to remove you. I don't look at him. My gaze shifts over his shoulder to the entryway console. There, sitting atop a stack of crisp legal documents, is a single sheet of paper I recognize. It's an addendum attached to a power of attorney form. A power of attorney I signed 5 years ago, right before a high-risk deployment to Syria. It was strictly for medical emergencies, to pull the plug if I ended up brain dead. It was never meant for this. Dad, I say, my voice steady, cutting through the warm air of the foyer. That POA was specific. It was for medical decisions only. Using it to liquidate real estate assets is fraud. Wire fraud. And since you're claiming you did it for the family, a prosecutor might call it elder abuse if you try to plead ignorance. Thaddeus flushes a deep, angry crimson, but he doubles down, puffing out his chest. I am your father. I made a command decision for this family. You have a government pension. Elian has debts that could ruin him. It's fair. We are rebalancing the scales. He uses family values like a shield to mask his theft. Corinne chimes in from the back, clutching a crystal bowl as if it were a pearl necklace. We're doing this for us, Avon. Why can't you just be happy that your success is helping your brother? Why must you be so stingy? I look at them, the people who raised me, and I feel a hollow ache where my love used to be. There is a saying I heard once. Givers have to set limits, because takers rarely do. My family aren't just takers. They are emotional vandals, breaking things just to see if they can. I take a deep breath. I have one card left to play. Not to save the house. That dream is dead. But to save them from federal prison. It is my final act of mercy. Listen to me carefully, I say, lowering my voice to a tone I usually reserve for briefing tactical teams. This isn't just a house. When I was promoted to Intelligence Command last year, this property was designated a dual-use facility. It is a Tier 4 CCF. It is federally protected soil. I turn my eyes to Sterling. Selling this property to a foreign entity without Department of Defense clearance isn't just a property dispute, Mr. Sterling. It is a violation of the Espionage Act. It is treason. For 1 second, there is absolute silence in the hallway. The wind howls outside, rattling the heavy oak door. Then, laughter. It starts with Elian. He doubles over, slapping his thigh. Oh my God, listen to her. Treason. You watch too many movies, Rambo. It's a house in the woods, not the Pentagon. Get over yourself. Thaddeus shakes his head, looking at Sterling with an apologetic, almost embarrassed smile. I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling. She has episodes. The war, you know. She imagines things are more important than they are. We'll handle her. They dismiss my reality to protect their delusion. They are standing on a landmine, and when I point it out, they tell me I'm being dramatic. You can tell someone the cliff is coming, but you cannot stop them from jumping if they believe they can fly. Have you ever tried to save someone who laughed in your face while you held out your hand? I stop speaking. I see the pity in their eyes. Pity for my sanity. Pity for the damaged soldier who can't let go. I realize the time for words is over. I reach into my pocket, my fingers brushing against the cold metal of my secure phone. I am done being the daughter. I step backward, retreating from the porch light into the biting shadows of the pine trees. The wind is howling now, whipping snow against my face, a physical manifestation of the chaos I'm about to unleash. I pull the device from my pocket. It isn't the sleek smartphone my mother uses to browse social media. It is a heavy, ruggedized communicator issued by the Department of Defense, designed to survive blasts, water, and EMPs. It feels cold and heavy in my hand, like a weapon. I press my thumb against the biometric reader on the side. The screen flares to life, cutting through the dark. I type in the alphanumeric distress code. It's a sequence I memorized during my briefing for the Tier 4 designation, a code I hoped never to use. My finger hovers over the execute button for a microsecond. The last heartbeat of the daughter who wanted to be loved, the final hesitation of a woman about to nuke the only bridge she has left back to her past. I press it. The screen blinks once, stark green text scrolling against the black casing. Federal breach confirmed. Asset compromised. QRF inbound. ETA, 5 minutes. I slide the phone back into my pocket. My hands are steady. This isn't calling 911 to report a domestic dispute. This is calling down the thunder. By sending that signal, I haven't just asked for help. I have formally categorized my father, my mother, and my brother as hostiles on federal soil. From the dark yard, the house looks like a stage play I am no longer cast in. The floor-to-ceiling windows frame them perfectly. I watch Thaddeus refill the buyer's glass, his posture deferential, eager. I see Corinne fluffing a throw pillow on the sofa, obsessing over the aesthetics of the room while unknowingly committing a felony. I realize then that I am a ghost. They've already moved on. They have erased my presence to make room for their greed, and they look relieved to be rid of me. The front door opens one last time. Thaddeus steps out, not to apologize, but to discard the last piece of me. He tosses my green military duffel bag onto the snowy steps. It lands with a heavy, wet thud. "Go to a motel, Avon!" he shouts over the wind, not stepping past the threshold. "Don't embarrass us by sleeping in the car." He slams the door. The lock clicks. I walk over to the steps, pick up the bag, and brush off the snow. I don't cry. I don't feel the sting of rejection anymore. Instead, I feel a strange, hollow lightness. The crushing obligation to save them is gone. They have saved me the trouble of leaving by kicking me out. In basic training, a drill instructor once told me, "Pain is just information, recruit. It tells you what's broken so you can splint it and keep moving." The pain in my chest is gone. The bond is severed. I am splinted. I am moving. I walk back to my rental Jeep and lean against the hood, crossing my arms over my chest. I check my watch. 4 o'clock. I become a statue in the storm. Snow accumulates on my shoulders, but I don't brush it off. I look up at the roofline of the villa. I remember laying those shingles myself during a 3-week leave, sweating in the summer sun, trying to build a fortress where the war couldn't touch me. I thought if I built the walls thick enough, I would be safe. I was wrong. The war is inside. Through the window, I see Mr. Sterling pointing at the walls, gesturing expansively. He's likely discussing which walls to knock down, how to modernize the rustic feel. He thinks he owns the view. He has no idea he is standing in a kill box. My breathing syncs with the ticking of the invisible clock. Inhale, exhale. 3 o'clock. There is a specific kind of silence that comes right before an explosion. It isn't peaceful. It's heavy, charged with static. The sound of a bridge burning while you are still standing on it. Most people panic in the silence. They try to fill it with noise, with pleas, with bargaining. I just wait. What would you do with your last 3 minutes of family life? Would you run in and scream? Would you try to drag them out? I choose to let them enjoy their wine. It's the last luxury they will taste for a very long time. 2 o'clock. The front door opens again. This time, it isn't Thaddeus. It's the buyer's bodyguard. He steps out onto the porch, a collapsible baton snapping open in his hand. He spots me by the Jeep and starts descending the stairs, his face set in a sneer. He thinks I'm a trespasser he can bully. He doesn't know he's walking into a combat zone. The bodyguard moves with the heavy, arrogant confidence of a man who is used to intimidation working as a primary tactic. He descends the stairs, the collapsible baton gleaming in the porch light. He sees a woman standing alone in the snow. He sees a target. He doesn't see the 13 years of close-quarters combat training woven into my muscle memory. He lunges. It's a sloppy, telegraphed swing, aimed high to frighten rather than incapacitate. He expects me to flinch. I don't. I step inside his guard, utilizing the slick surface of the driveway to pivot. My left hand catches his wrist, redirecting his momentum, while my right hand drives into his solar plexus. It's not a brawl, it's geometry. I twist his arm behind his back, using his own weight to force him face first onto the hood of my rental Jeep. The metal groans under the impact. He grunts, trying to struggle, but I apply just enough pressure to the radial nerve to freeze him. I could break his elbow with a single sharp movement. It would be easy, it would be justified. But I am not a thug. Stay down, I whisper, my voice barely audible over the wind. I don't want to hurt you for a paycheck that isn't worth your arm. Do not make me escalate this. On the porch, Mr. Sterling drops his smirk. The wine glass in his hand tilts dangerously. He realizes suddenly that the girl playing soldier is actually a weaponized professional. Control your daughter, Thaddeus, Sterling barks, his voice cracking. Or the deal is off. I look up at the porch, keeping the bodyguard pinned. I speak clearly, knowing my secure phone in my pocket is recording every decibel. I am the legal owner of this property. I am acting in self-defense against an armed intruder. Back off. The door bangs open. Corinne rushes out. She sees the bodyguard pinned on the hood, but she doesn't ask if I'm hurt. She doesn't ask what happened. She's crazy! Corinne screams, clutching her chest, playing to an audience of none. She's attacking our guest. Call the police. She's having one of her episodes. She casts me as the villain instantly. It's a reflex. Protect the image, protect the money, sacrifice the daughter. Thaddeus, humiliated by Sterling's command and enraged by my defiance, charges down the steps. His face is a mask of purple rage. He raises his hand to strike me, a gesture of dominance he used when I was a child, a gesture meant to correct behavior he found inconvenient. Give me that phone, you ungrateful brat! He roars, swinging his open palm toward my face. I release the bodyguard, who slides to the ground, gasping for air. I turn and catch my father's wrist in midair. The impact is solid. I don't strike back. I don't twist. I just hold him there. His arm trembles against my grip. He pushes, trying to overpower me, but I am an immovable object. The strength difference is palpable, and for the first time I see fear flicker in his eyes. He realizes that the hierarchy of power in this family has permanently shifted. Don't, I say. It's not a plea. It's an order. Behind him, Elian stands safely on the dry porch. He has his phone out, the camera lens pointed at us. My sister is having a PTSD episode, guys, Elian narrates to his live stream, his voice trembling with fake concern. She's violent. We're so scared. We don't know what she's going to do next. He is crafting the narrative to discredit me, building the cage of public opinion to lock me away. It is a profound tragedy when a parent raises a hand against a child not to teach, but to conquer. Have you ever had to physically stop a loved one from hurting you? It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like something inside you is dying. I push Thaddeus back. I do it gently, but with enough force that he stumbles a few steps, catching his balance against the railing. I check my watch. 0:10. I look at Mr. Sterling. Mr. Sterling, you have 10 seconds to get in your car and leave. This is a courtesy. Once the clock runs out, I can no longer guarantee your ability to depart. Sterling laughs, adjusting his tie nervously, trying to regain his composure. You have no authority here. This is my land. I have the deed. You are disowned, Avon. Thaddeus pants, straightening his coat, trying to salvage his dignity. You hear me? You are nothing to this family. You are dead to us. I look at them. My mother screaming lies. My brother filming lies. My father shouting them. There is a quote I read once. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. They are losers in a game they don't even know they are playing. I step back, creating a clear kill zone separation between myself and the group on the porch. I stop fighting. I stop arguing. I stand at attention, my hands at my sides. I look at my watch. 0 o'clock. I look up at the black sky. Time's up. The sound hits first, not in my ears, but in my ribs. A deep, pulsing thunder that vibrates through bone and breath, so heavy it feels like the night itself is being beaten flat. The blizzard is already loud, all wind and ice and snapping branches, but this new roar swallows everything. It drowns out Thaddeus's shouting like his voice is nothing more than static on a dead radio. Then the sky turns white. A hard surgical spotlight slices down through the storm, turning the darkness into a washed-out noon. Snowflakes ignite in the beam, each one a spinning shard of glass. For a second, the world is pure glare. No shadows, no hiding places. Just a porch, a hill, a private road, and the wreckage of a family trying to pretend it isn't falling apart. The Black Hawk hovers just above the tree line, its rotors chopping the air into violence. The downwash slams into us like a physical wall. Powdered snow explodes upward in a spiraling cyclone, blasting my face with needles of ice. It stings. It burns. It tries to force my eyes shut. I don't blink. I don't move. At the same moment, the bottom of the hill erupts with light. Blue and red strobes shattering the white out like broken glass. 4 black SUVs with government plates plow through the unplowed road as if physics is optional for them. Their tires throw rooster tails of snow, engines snarling, headlights boring tunnels through the storm. They don't arrive like help. They arrive like a lock snapping shut. They move with aggressive precision, forming a clean, practiced box around Sterling's luxury car and sealing off the only exit. Doors open before the vehicles are even fully stopped. Men spill out in dark armor, faces hidden behind balaclavas. Rifles held low but ready, muzzles steady, bodies fluid. They're not local deputies with clipboards and confused expressions. These are operators, trained, coordinated, the kind of people who don't ask questions until everything is controlled. Thaddeus throws an arm up to shield his eyes from the spotlight. The glare makes his face look older, harsher, every line carved deep by greed and certainty. And instead of fear, instead of the instinct to understand what he's seeing, a crooked grin spreads across his mouth. He misreads it completely. He thinks Corinne's screaming did this. He thinks Elian's live stream summoned a sympathetic sheriff. He thinks the cavalry has arrived to save him from his unstable daughter. In his mind, the world still obeys him. "Over here!" Thaddeus bellows, voice cracking as he points at me like I'm a problem to be removed. "She's the aggressor. Arrest her. She's dangerous." Elian, always hungry for an audience, thrusts his phone up into the spotlight like an offering to a god he worships. The screen's glow paints his fingers a sickly blue. He is shaking, not from cold, but from adrenaline and the sick thrill of being watched. "We are being held hostage by a mental patient," he screams into the camera, his voice pitched for drama, for shares, for outrage. "Help us! She's armed!" I stand at parade rest, like I've done 1,000 times in places far worse than a snowy porch. My hands clasp loosely behind my back. My feet are shoulder-width apart. My spine is straight. My breath is controlled. I am the only calm thing in a world trying to become a stampede, because I know exactly what this is. This isn't a rescue, it's a perimeter lockdown. A loudspeaker cracks through the wind, the amplified voice sharp enough to cut the air. "Federal agents, drop all items, hands in the air, now!" Not please. Not sir or ma'am. Not a negotiation. A command. Indiscriminate. Absolute. Terrifying. Mr. Sterling is the only person on the porch whose face changes in the right way. His eyes widen, not in anger, not in entitlement, but in the sick, immediate understanding of someone who has seen the inside of a courtroom and knows what it means when the feds show up like this. He drops his briefcase instantly. It hits the snow with a dull thud, half buried in seconds. His hands rise slowly, fingers spread, shoulders lifting toward his ears as if he's trying to disappear into his coat. His color drains so fast it's like someone pulled a plug. He knows what this many guns means. He knows when the federal government moves this quickly, this decisively, with this much hardware, the game isn't just over. It was never fair to begin with. Corinne makes a sound, half scream, half sob, hands flying to her mouth. She stumbles backward toward the door as if wood and glass can protect her from a warrant. An operator steps into her path, not rough but unyielding, guiding her away with a firm hand on her elbow. Another operator angles his rifle down and across, controlling space, controlling movement, controlling outcomes. But my father? My father still believes he owns the world because he owns paperwork. Thaddeus takes a step forward, trying to walk toward the lead operator like he's approaching a hotel concierge. He pulls his shoulders back. He adjusts his coat. He puts on the concerned patriarch expression, the one he uses for bank managers and country club boards and anyone he wants to charm into thinking he's respectable. "Officer," he shouts, voice rising above the rotor wash. "I am the owner of this property. My daughter is unstable. The operator doesn't even look impressed enough to be annoyed. He doesn't care about Thaddeus's name, his expensive coat, his practiced voice. He steps forward and shove-checks my father hard in the chest. "Back!" the operator barks. "Get on the ground! Do it now!" Thaddeus stumbles, boots sliding in the churned snow. Shock blooms across his face in real time, the first crack in the illusion that he is untouchable. His hands flare outward like he can balance himself on entitlement. What? He sputters, offended, confused, outraged that reality isn't behaving. The operator closes distance again, faster this time, and my father's protest collapses into survival. He drops to his knees in the snow, breath fogging in frantic bursts. His gloved hands hover uselessly, unsure where to go, because no one ever taught him how to submit. Corinne cries out his name, but another agent angles between them, separating family like pieces on a board. Elian's phone wobbles as he tries to keep filming, his voice switching gears instantly from performative courage to terrified pleading. "This is insane!" he yells. "You're making a mistake. I'm recording. This is..." An operator snaps, "Phone down, now." Elian freezes, then slowly lowers the device, panic flashing across his eyes as he realizes the audience he wanted might now be evidence. And Sterling, poor trembling Sterling, stares at the SUVs like a man watching his own future roll in on black tires. The spotlight stays fixed. The rotors keep hammering. Snow keeps falling, but now it falls inside a system, inside a controlled scene where every angle is watched, every exit sealed. From the lead SUV, a man steps out. He isn't wearing tactical gear, no helmet, no balaclava, no rifle hanging from his chest. He wears an FBI windbreaker over a dark suit, collar up against the wind, hair dusted with snow. He moves with the kind of quiet certainty that doesn't need to shout. His boots crunch through the packed powder as he walks past the operators, past the chaos, past my family's screaming confusion, and Sterling's silent terror. He walks straight toward me. It is Special Agent Kalen. Thaddeus sees him and his face brightens, still clinging to the belief that a man in a suit must be here to talk, to bargain, to listen to him. Kalen doesn't glance at my father. He doesn't acknowledge Corinne's sobbing. He doesn't spare Elian's phone a second look. His eyes lock on mine with the precision of someone confirming a beacon. He stops 3 feet away. And to my family's horror, he doesn't pull out handcuffs. He doesn't raise his voice. He snaps a sharp, crisp salute. "Ma'am," he says, calm as stone, voice carrying cleanly even through the wind. "Special Agent Kalen, FBI Counterintelligence. We received your distress code. Are you secure?" For a heartbeat, the entire porch seems to stop breathing. Thaddeus's jaw drops. Not in outrage this time, not in performance, in stunned, helpless disbelief. Because in that single motion, Kalen's salute, my father's story dies. The men with guns aren't here to save him from me. They are here because of me. They are here for him. I return the salute slowly, deliberately, as if placing the last piece of a puzzle. My hand drops back to my side. I look past Kalen to where my father kneels in the snow, shoulders hunched, face damp with melting flakes that cling to his skin like a second humiliation. I don't smile. I don't feel triumph. I feel tired. I am secure, Agent, I say, voice steady, measured, professional. Then, because I can't stop myself, because even now, standing in the wreckage of what they did, I hear my own humanity in my throat. But please, try not to be too rough with the elderly civilians. They're confused, not combatants. They don't understand what they've done. My words land like a slap in a way anger never could. Because I am protecting their dignity even as they lose everything. Because I am offering them mercy they never offered me. And it hurts them more than my rage ever could, because it exposes the distance between who they are and who I've become. Callan nods once, a small acknowledgement. Not pity, not softness, just respect. Understood, he says. Then he turns slowly to face the group on the ground. The sobbing, the shouting, the shaking, the entitlement crushed into snow. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a folded document, edges stiff despite the storm. The paper looks almost delicate in his gloved hand, which somehow makes it feel more dangerous than any rifle. He unfolds it with care, like a sentence being unrolled. And when he speaks again, his voice isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. Thaddeus, he says, reading the name as if it's already part of a file, already part of history. You are hereby served. Agent Kalen doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. He simply unfolds the paper and reads the statute numbers with the detached precision of a surgeon diagnosing a terminal illness. Thaddeus Vance, you are under arrest for violation of the Espionage Act, Title 18, and trespassing on a secure federal facility. You are also being detained as a material witness in a counterintelligence investigation regarding Mr. Sterling's activities. The words hang in the freezing air, heavier than the snow. Mr. Sterling attempts to puff out his chest, trying to salvage the situation with bluster. I have diplomatic protections. I represent a sovereign wealth fund. You cannot touch me. Callan ignores him entirely, nodding to two operators. Secure the principal target. Sterling is spun around, his expensive coat twisting as handcuffs are snapped onto his wrists. He is shoved unceremoniously toward a separate SUV. He is the big fish, and my family. They were just the bait he used to lure the prize. My parents watch him go, their mouths agape. They are not being treated as elderly homeowners involved in a misunderstanding. They are being processed as unregistered foreign agents by proxy. The act of selling a Tier 4 CF to a foreign national isn't a real estate deal. It's a crime against the state. Then the spotlight shifts to Elian. My brother, the golden child, is frantically tapping on his phone screen, his face illuminated by the harsh white light. He realizes too late that the live stream he started to frame me is now evidence against him. Seize the device, Callan orders. An operator rips the phone from Elian's hand. Elian crumbles instantly. The arrogance that fueled him 5 minutes ago evaporates, leaving a terrified boy in a man's coat. I didn't know, Elian screams, pointing a shaking finger at Thaddeus and Corinne. They made me do it. Mom told me it was legal. I just wanted the money. I didn't know it was a government building. I watch him turn on them. It's pathetic, but expected. Loyalty is a transaction for Elian, and the currency just crashed. Corinne gasps, looking at her favorite son as if he'd just stabbed her. The tragedy is that their greed made them blind to the very obvious do not trespass, U.S. government property clauses in the deed they tried to forge. They thought they were above the fine print. The operators begin to move them. Thaddeus is hauled to his feet. His face is gray, the color of old ash. As they lead him past me toward the waiting vehicles, he digs his heels into the snow and stops. Avon! He cries out, his voice cracking. Tears are freezing on his cheeks. Avon, I am your father. Tell them this is a mistake. You can stop this. I look at him. I don't feel the urge to scream. I don't feel the urge to gloat. I just feel a profound, quiet resolution. Dad, I say softly, I didn't call them to arrest you. I called them to secure the facility. You broke into a federal site. I cannot overrule the Department of Justice. Please, he begs, his shoulders slumping. I don't want to die in prison. I could turn my back. I could walk inside and let the door slam shut on his plea. That would be justice, but it wouldn't be me. I step closer to Agent Kalen. The operators tense up, but Kalen raises a hand to hold them back. Agent, I say. My father has a heart condition. His medication is in the inside pocket of his coat. Please ensure he has access to it during transport. And please, recommend the public defender's office contact them immediately. They don't have the liquidity for a private attorney anymore. Thaddeus stares at me. His eyes widen. In the midst of his destruction, the daughter he disowned is the only one ensuring he stays alive. He realizes, perhaps for the first time, that I am showing him more care in his downfall than he showed me in my homecoming. Why? He whispers. I'm not saving you from the consequences, Dad. I tell him, my voice unwavering. I'm just making sure you survive them. That's more than you did for me. Forgiveness isn't opening the door to let the wolf back in to eat your sheep. It's making sure the wolf is fed before you lock the gate forever. Have you ever helped someone who tried to destroy you? It doesn't make you weak. It proves you are untouchable. The doors slam shut. The convoy lights flare. One by one, the SUVs peel off, tires crunching down the mountain road. The helicopter banks sharply, disappearing into the night sky. The noise vanishes. The silence that follows is heavy, absolute, and beautiful. The only sound left is the wind whispering through the pines and the distant hum of the receding engines. I turn and walk back up the steps. I step over the shattered remains of the wine glass, the mess Corinne made and left behind. I push the heavy oak door open and step inside. The house feels different. The heat is still running. The lights are still on, but the air has changed. It feels larger, emptier, cleaner. I walk to the kitchen, bypassing the open bottle of vintage wine sitting on the counter. It's tainted now. I pour a simple glass of tap water. I walk to the floor-to-ceiling window where the party happened just 20 minutes ago. I take a sip. The water is cold and clean. My hands, which have been clenched in fists for hours, finally relax. I thought being alone in this big house would feel like abandonment. I thought silence would feel like loneliness. Instead, it feels like victory. Welcome home, Avon, I whisper to the empty room. We spend so much time afraid of losing people, we forget that losing them is sometimes the only way to find ourselves. I am standing in the wreckage of my family, and for the first time in my life, I am whole. I set the glass down on the table. Buzz. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Not a call, a message. I pull it out, expecting a debriefing notification from Kalen or a status update from command. But the number is unknown, encrypted, displaying only a series of routed server nodes. I open the message. The buyer wasn't working alone. Watch your back. Sometimes, the hardest enemy you'll ever face isn't on a battlefield. It's sitting at your own dinner table. I chose to save myself instead of saving their secrets. Would you have the strength to do the same? Tell me your story in the comments.